aunt lost her sister and best friend. My uncle also felt the loss. My mom's boyfriend lost his soulmate. There was nothing comforting about this loss. It dug deep into our hearts. Right alongside our pain, it'll also be carved in memory's stone that she died well loved and well cared for. Her boyfriend, which may as well have been her husband as far as I'm concerned, said that he'd stay until the very end no matter what. He held true to his words. Honorable man, and he isn't even a Christian. I don't like most Christians because I think most of them are just fakes. I'm starting to think that that's all bullshit anyway. So, we'll see. That's why we relate more to the Jewish faith than anything, because it's like pretty easy to figure out. I can't. I really can't with you people. I'm grateful she had a man that loved her dearly. She saw all of her loved ones one last time before she left this her, yeah. It's 2:32, 2:33. You know, are you guys like the good guys hazing us or something? I just, no one's explaining anything, and then when you guys actually do come up with some explanation, you say, oh, you got a bomb in your car, and you all scare the shit out of us, and so we're calling up Toyota and police and everybody we can think of. Obviously, that's what we're going to do. We don't trust you good guys to do anything real to help us, so, we had to take matters in our own hands, so you get what you get. You guys started that bullshit, not us. That is a grace from God. There were several opportunities for her to have left this planet, but she waited until we came to see her. From that point on, I wouldn't have anyone to turn to about the things that moms are supposed to be there for. There would be no more weekend phone calls, no more questions about high fevers and cramps, no more shared birthday celebrations. Our birthdays are only days apart. No more naked baby angel ornaments hanging on traditions at Christmas time. She bought, I don't know why, the little cherubim's always little naked baby angels. I don't know why. It's not my thing. It was a thing in the 60s, 70s. I don't know when it was, but it was a thing. So she had angels. They were naked little babies, no anatomically correct parts or anything like that. Cute, and little angel wings, and she hung them up on the tree. So we have a little tradition. One for each of our own real-life babies and grandbabies. And no, there wasn't one for a fake Noelle Rose. That's 29. Because I never had one. And no, I am not that fake 29-year-old. I am the real Noelle Rose Anderson Cahill, and then all my other last names that I've had because of parents who owned me, okay? Like grandbabies that I'd hang on her tree most Christmases. Like, she would give me and my brothers, okay, hang your babies thing. Mom lived a hard life, but a full one. I don't think she had any regrets, but I didn't ask her. She wanted to live on a boat. She did that. She wanted to skydive. She did that. Anything she wanted to do, she did, except see me dance. She never got to see me dance except for a disastrous ballet recital when I was 3.5, 4 years old, somewhere around that age. I couldn't help but think of a horrible irony and felt guilty again. I survived cancer and danced. My mom died from cancer, but was dancing on a mountaintop in heaven, in parentheses. And I don't know if she was like really dancing, but maybe jumping around, having fun, feeling good. I don't know, something like that. I remembered the blanket she was crocheting. I was going to help her finish it when I went to visit this coming week. That won't happen now. My brother is graciously giving it to me so I can finish it for her. I'll keep it on my grandmother's rocking chair. Then when I had my sick days, I could wrap myself in my mom's love and rock myself in my grandmother's comfort. Granted, it's not the same as flesh and blood holding you, but it's all I have. What else is new? I felt alone. I thought I had more time, 3 to 6 months. What just happened? I wanted my 3 to 6 months back. How does one put the pieces back together once they've been jumbled up and tossed like stormy ocean of tumultuousness? Carefully, prayerfully, diligently, and yes, painfully to, but it must be done. I didn't feel whole. I didn't feel completely comforted. I felt confused. This is going to be a long process, but sharing did help. I fought to not isolate, but as isolation has always been my default. Like, I like to stay away from people. I love people, but when things are getting too much, too sad, too hard, too crazy, I just leave. I don't want to look at anybody, you know. I didn't feel whole. I didn't feel completely comforted. I felt confused. This is going to be a long process, but sharing did help. Okay, I fought to not isolate, as isolation has always been my default. I don't know what we're doing. Always been my default. Thus far, I'd been able to continue teaching my dance classes. I stayed around other people. I danced the best I could. I missed attending a great deal of my dance classes. As a student, however, I didn't feel safe. My dancing often exposed my heart, and at that time I had to protect it. Mom was going to help me with our first dance festival. I mentioned it to her, and she thought, oh, maybe we can do costumes and stuff together. I was looking forward to it. Awakenings and Beginnings Dance Festival 2013, Los Angeles. She was excited, and I wanted her to be a part of it. The message of our video fundraiser changed from helping some young dancers put on a show to a story of my overcoming the hardship of losing my mom. I spoke about how I lost her and that I was keeping her memory alive by honoring her with the festival. The fundraiser was a success, and we were able to produce the show, and I emotionally held it and myself together to do my job as the artistic director. It was a challenge, but we all love doing it. There would be another time to mourn, but for now I had to pick myself up and be the leader that I had to be. Over 100 people were. It was huge. It was nice, but it was huge. It was kind of loving. 234 and 235. And we got this one guy was trying to give us a really bad review. Here. Awakenings and Beginnings Dance Festival 2013, Los Angeles. She was excited, and I wanted her to be a part of it. Fundraiser was a success, and we were able to produce a show. Oh, I already read all this. Over 100 people. Yeah, I read all this. I'm turning the page. 235 and 234 and 235. Counting on me to guide them. See, I don't lead like this. Going through dress and technical rehearsals took over 15 hours. It was wearing me down. I held it together and kept calm, except at one point when I had lost my patience. As I made my last rounds to check that props were set pieces were in their proper places off stage, and that the stage crew were ready to go, I double-checked an apparatus I was going to dance on. It consisted of several mirrored panels and fragile. I lifted the protected blankets and saw it was now cracked down the middle. I had looked out for everyone, was a gracious hostess, answered everyone's questions, and gave others extra time to tech out of my company's tech time. This pushed me a little too hard. I informed my husband, who is the technical director for the show, and said, fix it. Just like that. That was it. You know, I had done everything, and that was it. I completely lost it. I didn't do anything publicly displayed or anything like that. My display was fix it, and I was very sharp with it, and then I ran into the bathroom and turned on the shower and cooled off under the water. I lost it in the shower, you know what I mean? I tried to make it private. With my clothes still on, I realized what I had done. I had to figure out how to dry my costume in time for the show, or use something else. This was a time I needed my mother. She never stressed. She handled things smoothly, or her facade was so strong that I couldn't tell if things bothered her. Although it could have been why she drank so much. I don't know if she was an alcoholic. I don't think so, because she stopped. She just liked drinking. I don't know. I ain't gonna count it against her. Whatever. She may have not have handled things well, but would never give it away. I don't know. As I took off my wet costume, my hand ran over my right breast. It felt something hard. I panicked and checked again. It felt like a lump, another lump. I shoved it away like an unwanted coat in a dark closet, took a deep breath, turned off the water. I'm always finding lumps. We kind of figured out how to not have that happen anymore. Yep. Dried myself frantically and wrung out my costume. I would have to dance with it wet. It was deep blue. It would be fine. I would be fine. I told myself this as I wiped down the mirror and fixed my makeup. The guests were arriving, the house music played in the background, and the dancers were knocking on the door. This venue had only 2 bathrooms. I looked up and I caught my eye in the mirror. For a moment, I saw my mom. We had the same eyes. My hand reached out and traced the outline of my eyes. It had only been 3 months since Mom's passing. This loss would not heal quickly or easily. There was much work that needed to be done inside. Often, I still felt like a sweet little fairy, crouched on the meadow grounds, holding myself so I wouldn't fall apart. I would not let that happen to myself. I told myself to breathe. I would get through this somehow. The show sold out and we had one of our first previews in LA Weekly. It's amazing how things can come together in a crisis. The dance community, my mentors, my dancers, my board, the other companies and dancers are extremely supportive. There was so much love and respect for me to fall back on. However, I don't believe any of them knew how much my insides were shattering shard by shard. The success of subsequent festivals went ballistic. Each show sold out consistently, and to this date have had over 50 professional companies perform from Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, New York City, Brazil, and everything in between, 236, 237. And then once this book went to print, guess what? Somebody sabotaged our shows and made nobody come. We wanted to go to the Barnes stall. We kind of got screwed over. Yep. We know who, we know why, we know how. And, I'm like, okay. I'm not bragging to be mean to anybody. Other people sell out their shows too. And we promoted it on our social media. You can see evidence of that. So, these are just real bad people, some of them. I chalk it up for what it is, and I avoid them like the plague, and somehow they still manage to fuck us up somehow. So that's also why we managed to write to our government and say, what's going on, please? Because this is not supposed to happen. And what do we get? We're still waiting. We engaged with the dance community from various cities and grew our programs for the festival. We started a children's program, an educational program, workshops and master classes, and added more shows, a glamorous VIP red carpet reception, and had a lot of fun. So the children's program was where we invited kids to perform in the pre-show to our festival. My husband's mother and our dear friends from Vegas gave us a loan to pay our back-owed rent, and we were able to stay in our home, our apartment, My husband started a great new job that he loved, and we were working ourselves into a great position. I was hired on as a regular full-time instructor at a lovely dance academy, and finally, it felt like we had a normal or close to normal life again. I was surrounded by strong women who supported me. Women are amazing creations. They get the choice to be a mother or not, can choose to be married or not, can wear pants or dresses, multitask, be soft and strong, balance being a homemaker and a world changer, be a leader and or a follower, depending on what helps her and or her community. Her deeds are well known by the mark of her self-confidence, and should she not feel confident, she humbly states she needs help and support. I'm screaming it at the top of my lungs, so thanks a lot, people. I'm being very facetious. I hope you feel guilty. She loves deeply with commitment, never apologizing for it. Give a comforting embrace when she may need it more than someone else. A support for her partner, and when all else may fail, her winning smile can cover a multitude of mistakes. Women are amazing. During this time, another amazing woman was creating an international version of her movement festival. She was expanding to greater reaches and audiences. It was an exciting time for my company and dancers. We went international in a short time. I was so grateful for my mentor working hard on all our behalves to produce this project abroad. She's amazing, an amazing lady, and can cause anything to happen. If she dreams it, she will make it. And you can just walk. And I I would love to mention her name. I'm afraid to mention a lot of people's names without asking. You know, I didn't say anything bad, and it's all good. But, you know, sorry, but you know, this is just getting to the point where we can't manage this, okay? At all. Not even slightly. We were all excited to tour the areas nearby and see the grand sights of the inspired buildings and learn more about the fascinating Turkish culture. It was going to be an adventure. We were going to perform in Istanbul. That didn't happen because shit went down. As you know, if you look in history, some kind of skirmish happened, so we couldn't go. My board began fundraising for the cost of the trip, rehearsals, and the performance. My mentor was coordinating every detail involved with the artistic expedition. We were all set and ready to perform in Istanbul, and fate would have it that it would be postponed due to no fault of my mentor. It was just not meant to be. It was deeply disappointing, but this is always a possibility in every aspect of living life. There would be another time. We would find out later that we were possibly spared any potential harm as uprisings were occurring after a ceasefire. The U.S. Department of State had issued a travel alert, the continued potential for terrorist attacks, particularly in the Middle East and North Africa. However, over 30 million people annually traveled toward Turkey, and for the most part it was considered safe for tourists, but with this as a caution shared by, there's 238 and 239. So, I mean, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows what's going on? I really don't know anymore. USA Today on 1/23/2013 warned U.S. government employees continue to be subject to travel restrictions in southeastern Turkey. They must obtain advance approval prior to official or unofficial travel. This asshole just parked right behind us. Let's see what they do. They just turned off their car. But I feel sick, so why don't you move us? I feel like they have something on their vehicle, or, you know, and some of these people, they have children. And I'm like, you're poisoning other people's children? I have a child. He's not a child, but he's still my child, you know? He's an adult. I was like, how do you feel? That's how you make your living? By poisoning other people and their children, and why, you know? Or maybe he doesn't know that he's got shit on his car, or, I don't know how this is working anymore. Sometimes we see it. It comes out of the exhaust, and you can even see it when it's even invisible, because we learn how to see it with the right eyes and the right lighting. That's our cinematography background. They must obtain official or unofficial travel to the provinces of a whole bunch of places, and I'm not reading this. The embassy strongly recommends that U.S. citizens avoid areas in close proximity to the Syrian border. Istanbul was not listed. Hold on, guys. Istanbul was not listed in the bunches of countries that I didn't feel like reading. However, as we now know, this lovely city would be attacked in 2016. Like any city you visit or live in, there are potential risks, and life is messy and has a potential to grow into chaos and danger at any time and anywhere, and boy howdy, don't we fucking know it now. For this particular time, things weren't working out for us to travel to Istanbul. I had learned not to press something that isn't aligning. Life and the universe wanted it this way, and I had to respect that and let it be. Someday I would love to go visit and perform there. I knew something else would present itself, and it would be perfect and suit a need that maybe I didn't realize I needed in my soul. Not too long after this disappointment, at last minute, light shone through. My same mentor asked how I'd like to go to New York City. It took me about 3 seconds to say yes, let's do it. My board approved and used the money that was raised for the Istanbul trip for this one. My then duet partner, who we call Angel, was a solid male counterpart for me. We had an intricate and thought-provoking duet that wowed crowds. The weight sharing and balance shifts were mind-blowing. One particular lift had such risk to it that 1 in 10 times we would not nail. That's how scary it could be. It's a good move though, and that made it exciting as a performer. This move has since set trends, and many have lifted from this and took information from one of my videos on how there's another way to get out of this movement and use it in their choreography. So I didn't even upload that video, so how did they get that? They Thanks a lot, Q, disseminating my intellectual property and my ideas. If you search the internet, you'll see what I'm speaking of. I informed my partner of this new project, and he was committed to the project. Rehearsals began, and the reality that I was going to go back home made me feel ecstatic and also stirred with slight trepidation. I had not been back since I was a youth. I had not seen the place of my suffering in years, but that was a long time ago. Surely I had recovered enough emotionally since. I felt I could face my childhood horrors. With so many last-minute changes in plans, flights, and performances, I was getting nervous. I was also not one that liked to fly, still not thrilled with it. My nerves and thoughts of dread controlled me to the point that I would need a lot of wine or Benadryl to knock me out for the ride. After September 11th, I was even more fearful of having my body hurled into the atmosphere with no safety net. It was also a height issue. Got over that stuff. I've been flying for a while. It's no big deal anymore. Watch my videos. I do all these really cool things to get over my fear of heights. Ferris wheels, you know, all that. To remedy this fear of mine, my beloved husband and son took me on a few wheels. This is cruelty. I closed my eyes at the highest points. They took me on every coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain and had me repeat extreme 4 times in a row. 240 and 241. Yeah, that was always fun. Remember that, buddy?
Yeah.
Oh, God. You're having a hard time, aren't you? Mm-hmm. What can I do for you? I had not seen the place of my suffering in years, but that was a long time ago. Surely I had recovered enough emotionally since. I felt I could face my childhood horrors. With so many last-minute changes in plans, flights, performances, I was getting nervous. I read all this. Never mind, I read all this. You know what? I need to quit right now. I just can't do this. I hate my book right now, you know?
Yeah.
I just... Guys, we were just really grumpy, and I can't even explain how bad this is, but it's worse than what you might even perceive. This... Yeah, grumpy is an understatement. We can't turn our air conditioner on, it's broken or something, and then it just lets in more of this dust. So we're sweating our asses off because, you know, when this dust gets inside, it has chemical reactions and it just heats it up in here like a furnace. Okay, that was weird. The night before my trip, I almost canceled my flight to New York City because of my fear. My husband said, "Don't let fear keep you from doing what you want. You've come so far, don't give up now." He was right. I would force myself to go on that red-eye flight tomorrow night. I did it. It was great. The day of my trip, my son and I took a walk around the neighborhood park. He held my hand and told me that I was going to be fine and I was going to have a great time with my dad and family back east. My head hung low and I watched my footsteps carefully step over the protruding mulberry tree roots. "This is just like when I was a little girl walking home from school," I said as I smiled and looked up at him and felt something approaching us. You know, I just have a sense of things. I felt that similar pull in my heart. It was that pull I felt when I was near, and then there she was. The butterfly drove past us. I tried not to look obvious that I saw her, so I kept my head slightly angled downward, but I wanted to see her. I wanted to run up to her, or at least wave, but I didn't. I didn't seize the moment. I didn't do any of those things. That was her, wasn't it? I questioned. I was talking to my son. I questioned whether I truly saw her or not. My son nodded, and a yellow swallowtail breezed by. It was so weird how a butterfly would always be around anytime she was around. I don't know. Before I could point to it, it was gone. It was gone just like her. Another missed opportunity. It is devastating what fear can do to shift our fate and carve out our lives if we let it rule us. I felt my chest ache and I condemned myself for being fearful. My mom's memory also engaged with me that day. The sign of the butterfly had been everywhere. While I talked with my best friend, I saw 5 monarchs flitting about. They loved to fly over my head, tease me, and beg me to chase them, so I did. I have videos of it. I'm chasing them. I catch them, you know, it's kind of fun. You have to be careful, though. If you get your oils from your fingertips onto their wings, they can't fly seriously, I doubted my mom would share this opinion at this moment. She probably wished she could have chased butterflies with me in the park, even with her full life of adventure. She at that point truly knew one way or another what life should really be about. It's not about competition or racing to beat someone out of something, or manipulation or greed or lust or material goods. None of those things matter to her right now. Neither did they matter. Neither did they matter to me either. Only she mattered to me. It's truly all about love. I deeply believe we all find out the truth when we die, but do we need to know the truth beforehand? My husband and son drove me to LAX to catch my plane. They waited in line with me to enter the airport. Things were vastly changed since I flew last. It was 20 years ago. I watched people, and this is page 242 and 243. Is that coming through, buddy?
It's hard to tell. Yeah, I think so. Looks it.
Thank you. Take off their... Wait. I watched people take off their shoes, and there were giant cylinder x-rays that we had to walk through. I shook my head with disbelief. Am I really getting on a plane? I haven't seen my dad in years. This was so odd. I'm not gonna die on this plane. A few people looked at me with disdain when I said that. It could happen, you know. My husband kissed my forehead. I'm a pissed, huh? My husband kissed my forehead and our son squeezed me. I was getting on a plane and living out my dreams while taking this huge step, battling my fear of flying. In addition to my fear of heights and possibly fear of getting airsick too. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna have a lot of fun with your dad. Go see your old stomping ground. You'll come back with stories to tell. You once told me that what you wanted to do in heaven is what you always wanted to do on earth. Remember how you were deaf in the clinic? Oh yeah. You survived all of that. Now you're here. You're flying across the country to dance in New York City. Baby, that's not heaven. That's what I said to my husband. He chuckled and kissed my forehead again. New York City's not heaven. Breathe, he said, with a voice similar to that when he told me I'd rise from my sick bed because I had much yet to do. I nodded, okay, but if I die, it's your fault. And then he said, of course it is. We both laughed as he nudged me to the security gate. The next thing I did was take off my shoes and handed them over to a stranger for judgment. They probably smelled really bad. Sleep escaped me for most of the flight. Even with wine, I constantly checked my cell for the time and waited for the sunlight to make an appearance. The guy sitting next to me was a business executive for some kind of financial firm. He better have been a good guy, that's all I can say. Every time the plane moved or shifted suddenly, I asked him if that was normal. He found my fears amusing. He kept asking if I wanted to have a look outside. I kept saying no because the wing looked like it was going to break off. For me, I had him take a photo outside the window for me instead. Regretfully, I peered outside a couple times only to have vertigo swell about me. I had the stewardess help me to the restroom so I could breathe, splash some water on me. Anxiety attacks are not fun. The plane landed and I dashed out of it barely hearing my new friends wish me luck on my performance. I had told my brother to meet me at the baggage claim. He asked what my luggage looked like. I told him I didn't have any, but my carry-on. I just thought that's where we're supposed to go to meet everyone, so that's where I told him to pick me up. I'm telling you, talk about ignorance and stupidity. I didn't fly much then, so I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then when my son and I went to New York City, we didn't remember that, buddy. We missed our plane.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we're sitting in the wrong area. We hear our names called. You can see it on the video. And he's like, wait, that's our names. And we're sitting there. And we're like, we didn't know how to get on the plane. I mean, that's how bad we are. Not anymore. But it was pretty stupid. See, I told you we could be really stupid sometimes. And they're like, you don't fly much, do you? I was like, no. I don't know how to do that shit. mother and friend. She had a great sense of humor, generous and loyal. Her down-to-earth sensibilities was contrasted by her creative side. I still love her and so glad she's part of my family. I'm not kidding. My mother reminds me of Arwen, and then my dad's newer wife, right, second wife, reminds me of Eowyn. She's blonde, very earthy, just beautiful. So that's pages 244 and 245. We drove up the driveway, and there he was, very similar to how I remembered him, brawny, handsome, and stealth-like. I never saw him smile so broadly. I ran up to him and threw myself into his arms. We were really together, and I was back in my hometown. The homes, the buildings, the scenery was overlapped by visions of my past. It felt like a film projecting onto the real world, intruding and reinterpreting my history. Dad brought me inside, and my brother carried in my carry-on bag. My dad, his wife, and my brother lived in a two-story colonial-style home. He did such a good job. He totally, oh my God, so beautiful what he did to it. This was a magical place with memories on shelves. My other grandmother's hutch, beer steins, picture frames, so many relics from my past. After I settled in, my dad took me for a ride around town. I hadn't seen my grammar school since I was around 10 years old, so he took me there first. He said it looked radically different. He was right. The only thing that I recalled was a large paved hill the school sat atop that my brother and I used to sled down when it was snowing, that is. It was the only thing that looked vaguely the same. For many winters, we found ourselves on that hill that was enchanting and filled with laughter, snow, and we couldn't wait to get home to have our underwear strewn on the radiator to dry. Soggy underwear was our signal that it was time to leave our sledding escapades and go home before frostbite bit us. Now we really understand what the hell this stuff is in the snow. We then drove past my childhood best friend's home and a grocery store. Flashes from my past nightmares began to steal present moments. We were getting closer to the home that I lost my innocence in. I looked down at my chest. I could see my heart pulsing, and it felt like it was going to break through my skin. The house where my innocence was shattered lived in front of me. Dad, my eyes stayed focused on that damned house. Uh-oh, a curse word number 3. That's not that bad. As we drove by it, it looked exactly the same. I hated that house. Do you remember that old house? He asked me, unknowing what his words were doing to me. I slightly nodded my head. Yeah, I remember that old house very well. I remember how my grandfather molested me. I didn't tell him that. I was thinking that. Heat from anger rose up inside of me. I stared at it so intently that my gaze could have knocked down that prison which held my memories. It was a painful moment that I didn't want to remember, but I wanted to face my demons. The car kept driving past, and we pulled away, and it faded like the nightmare I had. Perhaps another time, perhaps I would see it again someday. My dad pointed down the street. That's where Mozart TV was. It was an empty lot. It had been torn down. Something happened to me there too. I couldn't or didn't want to remember what it was. I felt a sense of vindication knowing that it was razed to the ground. He took me past my other childhood home, the one I spent most of my youth in. It looked so small. The driveway looked the same, as did the garage that I hung fabric from to act as my... How's this page looking? 246 and 247.
I think I got it. Yeah.
Man, I feel like G-forces when we dip down in these hills here. I hung fabric to act as my backdrop and curtain. This was my first outdoor auditorium. My Nana and I spent hours dancing, singing, and acting in our backyard. I charged the kids on the block of time. I'm so mean. to come see me perform, but then I ended up putting them in my show. I never liked performing alone. I still don't. That's boring. We then got our parents, older siblings, and other friends to watch us. And we charged them a quarter because we knew they had the money. Sorry, I'm being an idiot. We performed our versions of whatever was the hottest movie trend that year. We did Star Wars. We did Jaws. We did Grease. Everything okay?
Yeah, I just can't see.
Oh, let me help you. Oh, shit, you got a lot of people coming. You got this chair?
How we look?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet is right. We got about two more
cars.
cars.
It's one, and right after the next one you can go.
Clear.
Truck coming this way.
Oh, shit.
Right.
Still clear?
Yeah.
There
Right
we go.
side
Still
is
clear.
still clear.
Still clear. Hurry your ass, though. There you go. Good job. I'm sorry, I just took over. Sorry.
That's fine.
It's instinct. So we did Star Wars, Jaws, Grease. Oh, I've got stories to tell you about this. And tons of my favorite Broadway musicals. Is this right?
Yeah.
Okay. West Side Story was my favorite. I'm certain we were hilarious. Our version of R2-D2 was a tin garbage can turned upside down. And my brother was R2-D2. God bless him. He tolerated me when oh boy did he tolerate me. And when we did Jaws, we used an orange inflatable dolphin in our wading pool. I remember this shit. Oh my god. My nana would bring home the playbills from the shows she'd see and teach me the songs and choreography, you know, from what she remembered. She didn't see that many, but she saw enough. She knew I was meant to dance and most responsible for keeping that dream alive. And she's like, you have to sing. She would go sing in bars. She was amazing. She used to sing at the bar called Casablanca. I'm not kidding. That has a lot of new meaning to us now. Dad drove us down the turnpike and he pointed us where the Twin Towers used to be. You never saw the World Trade Center, did you? And I said, well, I'm pretty sure I did. But maybe I'm wrong. You know how memories can be, especially right now with this crap in the air. I'm like, wait, did I do that? Mom never wanted me to go to New York, and she only took me to see 2 shows at the Museum of Natural History and the planetarium once. But we had family in New York too, and we didn't necessarily go to the city, sometimes the country, and all different things there. And we went to Watkins Glen. We spent a lot of time. I think that's New York. I don't think she went there either. Nana did, though. I don't know what the heck I just talked about, but whatever. Oh, World Trade Center. Okay. He told me his account of September 11th and how he saw the second tower come down. It was an iconic pair of what he called teeth, like saber-toothed tiger, that jutted up into the New York City skyline. The eerie part about his account was how close he was in proximity to this national disaster. I had only seen it on TV in Vegas. I shared with him how I felt a strong urge to be close to our son the eve of 9/11. Our son, right, he had bunk beds and slept on the bottom bunk. I crept into his... You guys remember that?
Yeah.
You remember that? I crept into his room late that night and put the top mattress on the floor next to him. So I was laying on the floor, and I was on his top bunk mattress. I took off his top bunk mattress frame, put it on the floor, and I slept next to him, and I had my hand like this. I had no idea what I would wake up to. No one in the world did. I don't think. My husband rushed into our son's room and turned on his mini TV set. What's wrong? The little screen soon revealed to us what was wrong. One of the Twin Towers had billows of black and gray smoke emerging from it. It's a fire or something. My partner just called me. This didn't seem like an ordinary fire. There's something wrong. It's something else. My husband kissed my head and left early for work. He said said he'd call and check in later. Our son woke up and sat on my lap. What's that? Something evil, son. I told him as I hugged him tight. I explained how my dad, his family, and my other relatives and friends lived back there, and they were all I could think about. This didn't feel right. There was more going on. I felt it. I must have sensed it the night prior. The camera angle on TV switched, and a plane burrowed into the second tower. I was stunned. The news was reporting it as an accident. Immediately, I recalled the incident in 1993 at the... There's 248, 249. Son, is this in frame?
I'm looking. Raise it up a little. No, up. No, that's good. You got it. Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At the World Trade Center. This was not an accident. We were under attack. My dad also knew we were under attack. After we exchanged stories of our 9/11 experiences, he told me not to go into the city alone. He said he would be joining me. He wouldn't be joining me or seeing my performance. He hates New York City now. While my heart was saddened and disappointed, I completely understood and couldn't blame him. The terrorism and crime concerned him. Yeah. After a day of sightseeing and revisiting old places and buildings, his wife, stepmom, made an awesome dinner. We ate on their outdoor deck that overlooked their garden. Gorgeous wildlife flew from the trees. The sounds took me back to my childhood once again. Oh, there's nothing like it back east. You know, when the air is really good and the air, scenery, people were worlds apart from Los Angeles, not one being better than the other, just different. We went inside and sat on the couch. My pointed shoes were staring up at me from my bag. I resigned to their pleading and put them on. I warmed up and danced a little bit. My dad marveled at how beautiful I looked in my pointed shoes. He also said that he felt I missed my calling. I was like, Dad, do you know what I do for a living? I asked him how. He told me I was too short, and the extra inches that my point shoes added made a difference. I laughed. He still didn't realize that his baby girl had not missed anything and was living her dreams, but there was more to follow. Our company's first store was only the beginning. You know, everyone said I was supposed to be taller, and I should have been, I think. And I think this toxic dust stunted my growth. At least by 3 inches. I really think so. He said that I was good and that I had a gift and urged me to make a lot of money at it. Most dancers don't make a lot of money dancing, and this is me telling him. It's hard work and barely pays bills. It was worth it though. I love my art and I'm not going to give it up this time. I sat on the couch next to him and showed him how I laced up my point shoes. He found it fascinating as he squinted through his eyeglasses. He asked if it hurt to wear them. I told him yes, but after a few minutes when I'm dancing, it doesn't bother me. And then he asked, do you miss your mom? He carefully inquired. I could only nod my head. You gotta move on, sweetie. It's been a while. Is it any better? And I said, no. Seems like yesterday still. She would have loved all this. She's missing it. I can't let her go. Played with the laces on my point shoes. This is an old habit of mine to play with laces, ties, or my fingers when I felt anxious or out of control. After our duet performance, so this is like the next day, many approached us and shared how it touched them. My dance pieces were resonating with people on both coasts and everywhere in between. There was something more to this than coincidence. This was my calling. This was what I was ultimately put here on this planet to do. But I still had questions. The very thing that was taken away from me, hidden from me, and almost lost to me from the perils of cancer and almost death was what lifted me up. It became a vessel of love. So 250 and 251. Can you get these?
Yeah, I got them. Got it.
And hope. I came back home and my life had changed, and I was once again different. Part of restoring my relationship with my husband was found in the little things we would do for each other. He would randomly but intentionally create songs for me. I would get him cards and write sweet notes. We would help each other in projects or just hold hands and squeeze each other. Love doesn't have to be found in expensive gifts. It is found in the humble acts of kindness. There was a lot of work done and yet to be done in our union, but received one from Hinchu that said faith. They were the perfect words for us, and we kept them close to our hearts. It served as a reminder that something bigger than ourselves is there in the midst of adversity. More performances came, dance roles, modeling jobs, singing, writing. The whole spectrum of artistic countenance presented itself along with temptations. Each job that came along I took and excelled. I didn't think twice to turn anything down at that time. My frailties and strengths as a human being were tested. I found myself in the midst of the rich and famous elite parties again. This is the second time it happened. And plenty of anything I wanted. I loved wine and still do. Not anymore. That was then. This is now, and it tastes like garbage now. It's bad. That grew into other beverages as I did as I pleased without crossing the line of my beliefs. I never stepped on anyone to get anywhere. There are some that would do anything to anyone to get anything. I drew the line at that behavior. This is when I started feeling vetting pressure again. When you sell your soul to the devil, you sell your soul to the devil. It's that simple. Not to sound dramatic, but as I look back, I could see where I lost myself again. It was in the familiar form of vomiting in the women's bathroom or a nearby trash can. However, it wasn't from fighting for my life from cancer and the ill effects of the treatment. I had become my own enemy. Before I knew it, I had gone off and away from my plumb line of truth. And then a sobering moment came to me when a God-serving friend saw me in a bathroom and reached out to me. I feel like I have a warning for you. Not all that glitters is gold. She was telling me I should not be so eager to take any job or a project that comes along. I needed to be mindful of the path God put me on and to stay true to it and not be tempted by anything. From the toilet bowl, I picked myself up, grabbed my purse, my hope stone slid out. I stopped breathing for a moment. I had strayed. From that night, I worked to get back to my beginnings again. I did not become an alcoholic, however, but I very well could have ended up there had I not had someone who cared about me speak up. Later on, I knew the bee-fly was worried about me regarding this issue. That too would be for another story. But yeah, I didn't become an alcoholic. Time, and it just really, it started tasting really, really bad, and I was getting tired of throwing up. And I didn't even drink that much. That's the thing. It was less and less each time. It's like, why is this happening? Time and what we do with it is a more precious commodity than money. Only few will ever realize this. Life doesn't offer receipts. You gotta take them back. So, here, 252 and 253. Can you look at these?
Yeah, got them.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Life doesn't offer receipts, so you can't take it back. Choose wisely and spend it well. That's what Nana told me. Oh, were the words of my Nana, and told me that we're coming back to remind me with love. This made me contemplate much the meaning of life. After so much success, and a few months after my mom's passing, I still had questions in my reflective time. Was I touching any hearts? Was I making a difference for anyone? Had I truly lost my way and gotten caught up in all the things of this earth? First I thought I was to be an actress and pursued it wholly, then a model, had success, a filmmaker, garnered 3 Emmy nominations, and a singer with a decent body of work. However, dance was my first true love, and it would return to me as a surprise visitor later in my life when the world was infatuated only with youth. It enraptured my heart like no other art form. I was best at it. The successes came with the other art forms for me, but they were not my lover. See, now the whole thing about my successes, that was part of the vetting process. Because I remember people hand dropping to me, oh, you might want to, and now I look back and I'm like, oh, they were vetting me. You know, and each time, each little stunt you do, in a sense, it pushes you a little bit further, higher up in the echelon, and then we just hit like the glass ceiling, or actually like the dead end. I couldn't go any further anymore because that's where my morals kicked in, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I decided long ago to build my home on a rock, a solid foundation of goodness and morals. I needed to remember this and fall back on it during my trials. I didn't have a choice if I was to survive and move forward. Not moving on, but forward. There's a huge difference without my mom. Moving on, let's go. Moving forward continues on. And you keep them with you in a sense, you know? It's not an anchor, but you keep them with you. Your death caused me to tumble and fall and then make hard decisions about relationships. I needed to start thinking a little bit more about me and my well-being. I gave too much and it drained me. I was in a place where I needed to receive, and I was ready to receive. My true friends would understand and do what is needed. This was the perfect time for wheat to be separated from the chaff, a bit of culling and discovery. During the next few weeks of contemplation, I'd hear back and forward on things. I had moments of clarity versus moments of confusion and pain. I'd be in complete joy, then despair. It was the normal grief process, and I was going to go through it no matter what, but without a numbing sound. This needed to happen. I warned everyone if they saw my tears to not be afraid. I was just missing my mom. I shared that if they saw me joyful, to not think I'm cold-blooded and not handling it. And people could put you in a very awkward place when people like that close to you die. They really can. It troubled me sometimes. I was seeking a power higher than myself, and at times I would gain the peace that passed all understanding in the midst of my stormy ocean. That higher power could calm the waves. I saw it, lived it, experienced.
Okay, yeah, this will
Okay.
work, I guess.
Ready?
Yeah, go.
That higher power could calm the waves. I saw it, lived it, experienced it. It takes humility to turn your life over to an invisible God, trusting in the unseen, but always feeling its effects. Many dreams plagued and enchanted my mind at night. Some dreams were of my mom dancing on her mountaintop and briskly grabbing my hand to join her. Some were of friends, some were of me dancing in front of thousands of people, and then one or two of the bee fly I had met a few years ago. By chance, or was it, we would run into each other through the years. I thought about her, 254 and 255. I just kept, can you see that?
Hold on. Yeah, just move your fingers. Okay, yeah, good. Got it.
So I just kept having dreams about all these strong female role models in my life during that time. Whenever something wonderful would happen, I wished she could have been present. She was in my heart when I was overlooking the butterfly, bee fly, and my mom. They both were. When I was overlooking Manhattan on top of the Empire State Building, performing before 1,200 people, preparing for our dance festival, running errands, laughing at a silly joke that she'd like, in rehearsal for Red Ribbons or dancing in the rain. She was there with me, and a butterfly would consistently visit to stab my heart to prompt me to think of her. Was dance my ultimate calling or just another stepping stone to what was ahead? I began to question even deeper what my purpose was. Was it to help the bee fly? Was it to further my dance mission, reaching hearts, to give hope? I'm not done dancing yet. I don't care what else is in my future. That guy was just looking at me, but I'm still gonna dance. Was it that I already accomplished what I set out to do? Was my mission complete? Nope. Why was God always bringing her to my mind? Was it all of the above? I had to return to my beginning again. I had to find out. This one woman held the answers somehow. A complete stranger had my answers. Perhaps not verbally, but I would see it in her eyes. I saw many things in those eyes until my sight began to fail for me. So I'm not blind. And I'm starting to think it wasn't my quote-unquote cancer that did this or the treatment, but this crap that they're spraying in the air, that dust. So I've figured out how to gain some of my vision back, too. Isn't that interesting? 3 weeks later, I enrolled in her class, and we saw each other for the first time in a long time. We both had been on an incredible journey, separately but not completely apart. As I've shared, she was always with me in my heart no matter where I went. My mom and Nana were also with me in the same way. See, I did write that. However, the bee fly was not deceased. She was here. Our smiles were awkward and brief, pregnant with past hurts and unanswered questions for both of us. I believed we were both ready to be in each other's lives again at that time. I needed answers, and an unsettled riddle between us solved or resolved. I hope this would be the time. 256 and 257. Can you get those? That's the end of the chapter. Chapter 11.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay. Wait, what are we doing? Okay, we're done. Turn that off. I need to take a break.